Great value is an end zone play. Normally, you can pull defenders by threatening to huck the disc deep, but when you're close to the end zone, that is no longer an option. Therefore, as you get close to scoring a point, you must change your offense. Great value is a goal line vertical stack, so 5 cutters will make a vert in the center of the end zone, and one handler will set up 45 degrees behind the main handler as the reset. The vertical stack should stretch all the way from the front to the back of the end zone. There are millions of ways that the defense can set up, and each variation could impact exactly how we will execute this play, but for today's purpose, we will assume that they are running a simple man defense with the center of the stack defenders poaching out to both sides. We will go through 5 options that the handler has to get the initial throw off. These should generally be considered in the order presented so that all players know what to expect. The first option is a simple cut from the front of the stack to the open side. If you can catch the defense on their back foot, or you have a mismatch, this is the quickest and easiest way to score. Often, the defense will position themselves so the cutter must come out of the front of the end zone for a catch, but this is fine for the offense. Trying to force a bad play to score in one throw is worse than making a safer play but scoring with multiple throws. The second option is to the new front of the stack. If the first cutter did not score, that means the defense has shifted from their initial setup, and this can create holes for the second cutter to exploit. The second cutter must read the defense and attack appropriately. On the screen here is a common situation where the front defender gets pulled away chasing the opening cut, and then there's a straight undefended line up the middle. If that is covered, then consider cutting to the break side, especially if there's no poach defender. The second cutter is extremely situational, so it's best to have this be an experienced player who can read the defense. By the time we get through those first 2 options, we should be about stall 5, and now it's time for a reset. Usually, the mark will be playing a bit forwards to help cut off that break side throw, so the around reset should be more open. If this throw happens, then we want to immediately follow up with another threat cutting from the back of the stack to the break side cone. This cutter will usually be the same person who made that initial opening cut. But this is a good thing because their defender is likely now trailing behind them and they can accelerate through their clearout straight into a new scoring threat. If the around reset is stopped, the defenders must have shifted to that offensive side of the body, and therefore the next option is for the reset handler to make the upline cut. Since the defense is likely on the around side of the handler's body, they are more likely to get an effective strike cut off. By the time we've considered all of these options, we would expect it to be around stall 8 or 9. To avoid a desperation throw, the last option is a reset from the front of the stack. The goal here is not to gain any yards, but is instead to maintain possession of the disc. On the screen, we can see that we are cutting to the break side. However, the open side works just as well. Whichever side gets the reset, we want to follow up with another cut from the back of the stack to threaten a quick point. If we go through a whole progression and we do not score, whether the catch was made just outside of the end zone, or if the reset didn't like their high tempo option, simply go back to the beginning of all of these options and go through them again with a refresh stall count. Here are some keys to success with this play. First, we want to have fewer but more threatening cuts. If too many people are moving at the same time, it creates clutter. Since we are constrained by the back of the end zone, we cannot afford to have clutter like you might be able to get away with in the middle of the field. Empty space gives the advantage to the offense. Next, look for the reset sooner. All that we need to succeed in the red zone is just one great forward pass. If the option we are considering is struggling, we should move on quicker than we might in the middle of the field. Staring down one cutter and forcing it to them is too risky and is not worth it. Next, we want to threaten the entire field. Since we cannot go deep, we must find another way to pull the defense. All cuts to the sides should move at top speed all the way through the sideline and force the defense to play honest. In the middle of the field, we might be apprehensive to pinning ourselves to the sideline, but in the end zone, tons of points are scored within a yard of the sideline because the defense backs off when they get a little bit close and they try to hedge a little bit. Next, we must be aware of the defense's setup. The defense is quite likely to have a different setup and priorities than they would in the middle of the field. We can expect more zone, brackets, or switching, and we must react accordingly. Finally, when your cut does not work, you must clear out hard. Since open space favors the offense, we must create that empty space for our teammates. Clearing out at full speed can be exhausting, but if the point is successful, you can immediately sub off and take a well-deserved break. One of the most frustrating things in the game is when your team works well together, they run the disc all the way up the field, but then you get a turnover in the red zone. When we get close to scoring, any player on the team can call out great value and set up this play. When the call is made, everyone must get to their positions quickly, and then we can begin the progression of options.